My name is Timothy Rourke. I'm a resident of Bedford, New Hampshire. I come to you today as chair of the Governor's Commission on Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Prevention, Intervention, and Treatment. I'll speak incredibly briefly. I've written testimony I'll leave behind. The Commission is in opposition to all three bills. Just a quick bit of background. The Governor's Commission was created in the year 2000 to conduct three activities on behalf of the state of New Hampshire: to develop and implement a state strategy to address the problems caused in New Hampshire by alcohol and other drug abuse. Our latest strategic plan actually is being released next Friday. Secondly, to administer the Alcohol Abuse Prevention and Treatment Fund, which is a percentage of gross profits from the sale of liquor through our state liquor stores, ideally, in statute, to prevention and treatment services. And then thirdly, to advise the governor and the legislature on policy and budgetary issues relative to alcohol and drug abuse. There's actually just one kind of key point I want to highlight, and that is around the conversation that's been had around youth and youth access and advertising and various strategies to prevent youth use. Because I want to recognize that while there's disparate opinions on this issue, there are some places where groups on both sides, so to speak, come together. I've heard a lot of conversations from both sides this morning, or this afternoon, feels like it's been that long, that nobody in the room is suggesting that marijuana use is healthy for young people, and that the intention of all in this room is to ensure that that the use of marijuana by young people decreases. That's a wonderful place where we can come together. Unfortunately, conversations such as this and policies such as this do not meet that goal. In states that have considered or adopted policies that have legalized, decriminalized, or expanded access to marijuana through some sort of a control environment, the rates of youth marijuana use have risen. The reason for that is because there are two main factors that drive young people's substance use. The first is access. What can I get a hold of? And to the extent of gateway drugs, where was the conversation, a little side laughter around marijuana being the gateway drug, the first drug a young person takes is the gateway drug, be it tobacco, marijuana, alcohol, prescription drug abuse, which is another huge issue in our state. But there's a second issue, and the second issue is perception of risk. When young people do not believe that a particular behavior is risky, they are more likely to engage in it. In states where they have seen an increase in marijuana use, that statistical increase has been preceded by a decrease in the number of young people who report the belief that marijuana is harmful. In the state of New Hampshire, we conduct the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. That survey was conducted last in 2011. It is about to be conducted again. When the data from 2011 came out, it showed a decrease in New Hampshire youth who feel that marijuana use is harmful. Therefore, those of us in the field generally believe that when the next Youth Risk Behavior Survey comes out, we are actually going to see that translate into an increase in use. So there has not been a benefit of regulating or messaging around marijuana policy for young people that has driven down youth use when we talk about legalizing it for another half of the population. The other piece around advertising, to your question, I would just say this conversation, and this is the unfortunate part because the Governor's Commission, and I echo a little bit of what Tricia Lucas said, this is a very complicated issue. There are a lot of very significant questions. We very much feel we can play a role in helping answer and wrestle with some of these questions in a thoughtful manner. But the reality is, this is advertising. There are cameras in this room. Hello. There are tweets going out in the back. This dialogue, this is in and of itself advertising. So in some ways, yes, we might be able to restrict, as we restrict advertising with alcohol, although we've backslid in some of those restrictions in the past. But ultimately, the train begins to leave the station. So there isn't really a way where a policy such as this is going to ultimately lead to a decrease in youth use. And then I'll leave it really with that, understanding the other points I would have raised were raised elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Valerie Morgan.